Whittingham is putting together not just a staff, but he's putting together a roster. And I have been very pleased with what I've seen so far. As we shift over to Michigan, Michigan fans, we like to talk about how 2023 we won the last real national title, where you had just the 14 playoff. You didn't have everybody and their brother getting into the playoffs, and it was not the Wild West NIL era where you did have some of that. You did have the JJ McCarthys who sat behind Cade McNamara and then won the starting battle, and then had the 20 the Blake you had these. You had and that was a very senior laden team. You had guys like McCarthy who loved Michigan. Whether you think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback or whatever you think about the state of the program, whatever. JJ McCarthy loves football and he loves Michigan. And you saw that the way that he was willing to be patient and to wait and to battle listen, Cade McNamara is not a great quarterback. But he
breaking news. You heard it here first.
He sat behind him in 21. He entertained the quarterback battle in 22. Kind of ticked Cade off that there was a quarterback battle into the season. You know what? I never heard from JJ any complaints about it. You know why? Because JJ was willing to go out there and be a competitor. And
say what you want to say.
And he was good. And then in 23, he took that team to an undefeated 15-0 season. And so that's where I think those of us who are. I think there's a huge chunk of college football fans that know we may not be able to go back to that fully, but that kind of pine for some of that to stick back around. Yeah. And I have a lot of respect for guys that do stick it out. So Michigan's portal has obviously been crazy because our coach portaled out and as did a bunch of our staff. So we talked about a lot of that last week. Go back and listen to that episode. Don't need to rehash it, but Whittingham is putting together not just the staff, but he's putting together a roster. And I have been very pleased with what I've seen so far. We'll get to the areas of concern here in a moment, but Michigan on the offensive side of the ball, obviously Bryce Underwood, is he going to come back? Is he not? What about LSU? What about getting him back in the fold? I'm not saying that made decisions for other players, but I do, obviously that helps to go, we know the guy who's going to be calling the shots on the field again. We've talked about his ups and down struggles of being a true freshman. We know that freshman to sophomore leap is the biggest, most important one for a quarterback. Now he has a dedicated quarterback coach. He's got a coach who is committed to the program and his family, which is probably good. And that's a big deal for Michigan. Getting Jordan Marshall back, understandably, a huge deal, because you've got Jordan Marshall and you've got Savion Hyder. We talked about 5-star freshmen coming in. Will they have immediate impact or not? Hyder feels like the guy who will. Then on top of that, they get Tatum from Oklahoma. So Michigan's got, immediately probably the best running back room in the Big Ten, if not the country.
And that's with two of those guys leaving from last year, one of them being Justice Haynes.
And Justice Haynes is an interesting case too, because he's being projected to go to Georgia Tech. Nothing is again Monday morning, 9:07 a.m. because you got to timestamp this even. It's not a done deal yet. Yeah, I suppose there's a scenario where he comes back in, but the reality is Michigan's not going to invest the money into him, not because he's not worth it, but because for Michigan and their position needs, that money needs to be used elsewhere. Yeah. And again, I more power to him, but that's big. Having Marshall and Hyder and then adding Tatum into that fold, is really big. The other big piece for Michigan, and none of this is rocket science, right? If you want a true recruiting and X's and O's podcast, you have those. That's fine. But Andrew Marsh was a big question mark because Michigan's pass catchers outside of Andrew Marsh, and I'd say Donovan McCulley was good last year too, but Michigan's pass catchers were lacking. They have been lacking. So locking down Andrew Marsh, huge. And then this weekend, they added Jamie French from Texas. Now you've got two guys in there who are both really talented athletes. And it's not just, well, we hope so. It's, okay, we know these guys are going to be good. Michigan has guys like Jamar Browder and Shannon Goodwin. We saw a little bit of both of them, who will compete for wide receiver 3, except that Michigan also just added Michigan also just added J.J. Buchanan from Utah. He plays this weird kind of wide receiver, tight end split role. No one's really sure exactly how to classify him. That guy's an immediate impact. So all that to say, Michigan's got all these, skill position players on offense, either coming back or that they're adding in to kind of do that putty thing and kind of secure a few different holes that they have. They should be really good. And one of the bigger concerns was actually not the quote skill position on offense, but was offensive line. Michigan loses Gio Hadi to the draft, which was expected.
Yeah,
that was going to happen.
People figured.
But then you had Andrew Sprague hit the portal. Jake Guarnera hit the portal, and you're sitting there going, this offensive line that was starting to kind of click and gel, and we thought, okay, the next couple of years, these guys might be really, really good, are suddenly disintegrating. You go, well, one of the important parts about having a really talented quarterback is you kind of have to protect him. But then getting Andrew Sprague back, getting Jake Guarnera back. Blake Frazier says he's back, announced that he's staying. Evan Link staying. Babalola, who is the 5-star that they signed, who got injured, didn't even get to see the field this year. So even though he hasn't played, he's been in the system, if you will. He's been around he's going to compete. Suddenly, Michigan's looking at Babalola and Link and Guarnera and Frazier and Sprague, and you've got a Phobie in there too, and Brady Norton, and you're suddenly looking at this offense going, this is still a very young offense. This might be a really good offense. And so that's all very positive stuff for Michigan. The defensive side of the ball is where more of the concerns are, because one, you're losing guys to the draft, right? You're losing Jimmy Rolder, you're losing Derek Moore, you're losing Jayshawn Barham, you lost Ernest Hausman to whatever he's dealing with right now, to himself, unfortunately. You lost Cole Sullivan to the portal. We'll see him in week 2 in Ann Arbor as Oklahoma comes up. I'm sure. And by the way, Cole Sullivan's a great player. I have no ill will against him, but I'm sure that will be a fun little side story in the midst of all that for this Michigan offense to line up against Sullivan. I think defensively, Michigan has made some really good additions, right? Jonah Leia from Utah transfers in. John Henry Daly, if he can be healthy, which is a huge question mark, that's a big if, but if he's healthy, it's a darn good football player right there. And you still have the Dominic Nichols and the Cam Brants. And this is actually where the boneheaded philosophy of Wink Martindale, who doesn't know who's on the field at any given point, actually kind of benefits you a little bit, because you've got guys who suddenly have a bunch of reps. Michigan getting Zeke Berry back out of the portal. Jair Hill says, hey, I'm staying. Even though the defense is thin in certain positions, number one, you still have all this week. Number two, you have got some key guys back. Having Berry and Hill back, I know Smith Snowden is a guy that at this point has not signed with Michigan, but would be a huge get. They're looking at Cade Uluave from Cal. Ohio State had hosted Rasheem Biles. Michigan had as well. Yeah. He ends up, I believe, committing to, I want to say Texas. That might be wrong.
I couldn't remember if I officially saw anything.
It's not Michigan or Ohio State.
I love
I can
that.
tell you that.
That's great. What a sweet treat.
But Uluave from Cal was widely considered to actually be the top linebacker in the portal. Michigan is looking like, knock on wood, they may sign him. That's huge. You've got Owosu Boateng, who got a lot of reps in there. So at the end of the day, Michigan will be fine, but there is definitely some more defensive side of the ball that I'm looking at this week going, who can you get to portal back in? Who can be the Spragues and the Guarneras and the Berries who you can bring back into the fold, right? TJ Metcalf, Elijah Dotson, Jordan Young. Some of these, Metcalf being the exception there as more of a veteran guy, but Elijah Dotson and Jordan Young, like these are guys that I want to stick around here because I see the potential. They haven't, again, as of right now, they haven't committed anywhere yet. Those are guys that I think Michigan needs to be able to bring back in. And you've still got guys like Mason Curtis. Like Michigan will be good. Michigan will be good. But I'd love to see some of those guys to the point about the Mylan Grahams and stuff like that. Yeah. I'd love to see guys like Dotson and Young and more guys than that too, but guys like that stick around and wait it out, know that you're going to get reps, develop so that you can not have that big gap, but from 26 to 27, you can hit the ground running. You've got that retention that matters so much in this day.
And I think that there is that almost immediate fear because it's college and not the pros, where you're looking at the second somebody puts their name in the transfer portal, you automatically assume they're leaving. It's essentially free agency like it is in pro. So just because somebody's putting their name in the transfer portal doesn't mean that they're automatically leaving.
Feeling out their options.
They're going out and they're checking out to see, okay, where do I have the best opportunity? B, who's going to pay me the most money?
Yeah.
It's very common for that to happen in the pros. It's just worded differently and worded a little bit scarier. So there's a handful of guys from both Ohio State and Michigan that are probably very big names, 4 or 5-star guys that both teams would love to come back. And I'm sure behind doors are working on doing just that. You may see some of the guys that we mentioned here today back on the same team to start the year. It's just
by the time you listen to the podcast, the entire landscape could Andrew Marsh could go, actually, no. And,
I would simply love for that to happen. I would love for probably 10 to 15 of these Ohio State guys to say, you know what, actually, let's go Bucks. But
this is the world. This is the world that we're living in. The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.